All right, guys, week two. We are going to talk about real foods, quality, and a bunch of different things. And first of all, I'm going to ask you a question to kind of facilitate thought. If you were stuck on a desert island and could only eat one thing, one food for optimal health, what would you choose and why?
I would choose some sort of a ruminant. So that would be a cow or something like that.
Okay, Tim's taking, he's like, not just the beef, but the whole cow.
I want to have the organs and everything like that.
Perfect. How about you?
I mean, why is because it would give me the best seafood from so you obviously stole mine. We're about the same sort, definitely red meat. A little bit off of that. The rest of all is something for the essential amino acids that are healing of building up the muscle that I need. So we get that energy.
Awesome.
To
I love that. I could live on ribeyes every day. I love fatty meats, so that's perfect. It's great because we're going to get our essential amino acids from it, right? We're going to get our protein, our good fat, all the different things. Tim's going to eat everything. He's going to find a hoof recipe. He's taking the whole cow with him. Food logs. Everybody's turned them in so far, so we're good on that. Anybody have any questions about anything with nutrition from week one? Feeling pretty confident we know what we're talking about? Good to go? Okay, so let's talk about food versus not food, because we hear that a lot, like polyunsaturated fatty acids or ultra-processed foods or, oh, that's good, or a protein shake, but I can't get animal protein, things like that. Let's define real food, which is whole food that's unprocessed. Okay, so that's what you have to remember. If it's a real food, it's a whole food, and it's not been processed. Perfect? Not food is processed food. So was it last week, did we talk about the peach? There's a peach, and then maybe I canned it and put in some syrup, and it's kind of processed, and then I like ground it up and added sugar and flour and made it into peach cobbler, and that's ultra processed, right? So we're going to think about food and those terms this week as well. If we want to simplify what is processing, it's adding chemicals. Who looks at a label and they're like, what are these words right here that I can't pronounce, right? Anytime you grab something that's packaged, you have to stop yawning or I'm just going to pass out right now. pretty boring. Just falling asleep 2 minutes in. Any chemicals added is processing, right? Nitrites, everyone can relate to knowing what that is, because if you don't buy uncured meats or bacon, that's right in there. Even if it's celery salt, we've added a chemical. Preservatives. That's another one. We see that a lot as well. What is the problem with adding things to our food like preservatives and chemicals? It disrupts the cellular function, but it strips the nutrients and adds toxins, okay? So when we do this, strips nutrients and adds toxins. So when we talk about toxic load, a lot of it comes from what we eat. A lot of it comes from the environment, right? You're sitting in traffic all day breathing in fumes, or you go get a facial and they put all these crazy chemical peels and stuff on you. Skin's the largest organ, sucks it right in, and now the toxins are in the bloodstream in your body. And what I always think about when I think about toxins and stripping nutrients is the effect it has on my liver, right? That's the sponge that absorbs it in and expels it out and cleans out the body. And this stuff over time really builds up. So by eating whole, unprocessed quality foods, we automatically lower the amount of toxic load that the body takes on. So that's my favorite bonus of that. Processed foods exist. For one, I won't go straight into the whole money-making scheme, but how convenient is it when we can open up a cabinet and something has a shelf life, right? So like, okay, I just bought some hamburger helper. Like we always joke about that on the podcast that I grew up eating that stuff. You could buy a box of like powdered whatever and some crappy noodles It's good for like 3 years in there. It's not going to go bad. Or I can grab a loaf of bread, right? Whether it's whole grain, the whole grain bread must be so good or whatever. In the fridge or on the pantry, in the pantry or on a just your basic, can't even think of what it's called right now, countertop, it's going to last a while, right? It's not going to go bad right away. So back in the day when the shift started happening and the industrialization of food happened, all of a sudden people were like, wow, I don't have to stay in the kitchen and cook all day because someone made it for me, or they bring me my milk. I have to milk a cow. I don't have to make this or that. Someone made bread and they sliced it for me, like greatest thing since sliced bread, right? And now I can just go about my day, and cooking for the family becomes not that important anymore because there's stuff that's already made. So that's the most benign reason why we have processed foods for the shelf life. Corporate greed is the most obvious reason why we have it, because there's so much money in food, or even fast food, or now DoorDash brings you the crappy food. Like, you have no shortage of options of how to get your hands on something to eat immediately all the time. And sadly enough, these foods that are made in a way that you crave them and you love the taste of it. It's engineered that way. So if we think about it, I'm gonna call it fake foods, right? Like, you go to the Maison Benoit, everyone talks about the French bakery in Danville. It's all ultra processed, super delicious, because it includes all the ingredients that are made to make it taste that way and make you crave it and make your body want it, right? And the things, all the low quality flours and sugars and everything in there, we know, talked about it last week, keeps the cell from feeling satiated. We overeat it, our gut health is off, and then we crave it, crave it, crave it. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle. Once you've gotten into the point where life is so busy, or you don't know how to cook, or no one in your family ever cooked, or back in the day, poor people like my family ate fast food because it used to be cheaper than Whole Foods, right? Like, we sort of leveled the playing field with the bad economy from the previous 4 years. And so now people are like, okay, wait a minute. All these quick fixes that I relied upon to feed my family, I almost can't afford anymore. And so they can go get the rotisserie chicken and the salad and some vegetables to steam and some lentils and have like a really unprocessed, delicious meal that they're cooking for less money. But at the end of the day, it's still hard to break from bioengineered processed foods that people literally find themselves addicted to. Okay. Off the top of your head, what is something that you can just get in the freezer section the kids absolutely love?
Bagel bites.
Bagel bites. What else? Ice cream. What about chicken nuggets? Everybody see kid? Yes, dino bites, exactly. So when we think about like fresh meat, if I go to Safeway, because I know I can get an organic free range rotisserie chicken there. Can't get them at Costco, so I can't use their example. They're really highly processed chickens there. So I get that. And it's like $13.99 for a Mary's organic free range chicken. And then now I go into the freezer section and my kid's like, oh, chicken nuggets. I want the chicken nuggets. And we look on the package, and what is it? It's low quality chicken in wheat flour, huh? Cornstarch, added sugars. They add sugar in it. There's so many chemicals that I can't even pronounce, but the kids want that. And the oil it's cooked in is generally 95% of the time canola oil. Even if you buy Applegate or really high end gluten-free chicken nuggets, it's complete trash oil. So like, you're losing the battle no matter how you look at it. But when we can get to a point where we can retrain all these delightful taste buds on our tongue to appreciate what real food, whole food tastes like, it's a complete game changer. Okay, so let's talk about real food sources. This is the week 2 handout. Great whole food, real food sources of protein: chicken, turkey, and duck, beef, lamb, pork, bison, venison, and elk. All the different types of fish. Always go for wild caught. Shellfish, Then if you're like, hey, what about like a dairy source? We've got Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, milk from cows, goats, or sheep's, legumes, which are lentils, chickpeas, black beans, and kidney beans, and then some tofu, tempeh, and edamame. Okay. So for those of you that are doing like a slower carbohydrate switch from a high glucose diet, rolling it back to get us more towards ketogenic, those legumes and edamame are a great way to get in a carbohydrate that's also giving you protein, but not doing that fast burn that makes you feel hungry all the time, like breaded stuff. We were talking about chicken nuggets, things like that. Good fats, avocados, olives, olive oil, nuts, seeds, coconut oil, which is a great one to cook in, eggs, especially the yolk, fatty fish like salmon, great fats in that. Plus, let's have a reminder about this. I'm going to write this up because a lot of us forget about it. I forgot an eraser. Omega 6:3 ratio in a perfect world is 2:1, right? 2:1 omega 6:3. In a standard American diet processed food, it's 30:1, which drives inflammation, right? All those things that bring in chronic illness and disease could literally be from just throwing off your ratio by the foods you eat or the foods you omit because you're scared of fats, because your doctor's giving you some bad information, right? Lastly, carbohydrates. Your best source of carbohydrates are non-starchy carbs, vegetables. So thank you. Leafy greens, different things like that. Broccoli, spinach, zucchini, carrots, peppers, cauliflower. I know Tim's big on sprouts too. They're very, very good for you. So if you can find the sprouts at Sprouts is where we get them. That's a great carbohydrate to add on. It's a great thing to add to your food. Whole grains, if you're going to do a carb, there are whole grains: oats, rice, quinoa, barley, farro, and millet. If you're allergic to gluten, you're going to have to skip the farro because that is wheat. Again, legumes fall into the carb category just like the protein. My slow carb eaters, this is what you should pay attention to. And then some fruits. Berries are best because of fiber. But we know from last week that fructose and sugar are just sugar in the body. Your body doesn't say, oh, thank you for the apple today. The pink lady apple is delicious. I'm not going to mess with the blood sugar. Fructose, sugar, table sugar, brown sugar, it's all the same in the body. Plantains and green bananas are a source of carbs. They are a little bit higher on the glycemic index, especially the fried plantains. If you're going to eat that, check your oil source on that as well. Any questions so far on that? No? Good. So again, real food's role is the bioavailability of the micronutrients within your macronutrients and the water content. So again, your macros, protein, carb, and fat, and then they carry micronutrients like your A, your B vitamins, all these fat soluble things that come from food. And again, the water content of the real food you're eating is important too, because most of us are like chronically dehydrated, right? We're always eating processed food, sugary drinks, soda, coffee, caffeine that strips that. So you're getting that from the real food every time you eat it. It's also the building blocks for health and energy. So the Krebs cycle is really dependent, working its best to give you your best energy when you're eating real food. So if you're someone that's like, I'm taking the nutrition program, not because I need to change my body composition, but I'm tired and sluggish and feel like crap all the time, the real food sources and making that switch is going to make a huge difference in your health overall, right? Because so many of us from just day-to-day life and stress and commuting and everything, like we're working out well and we think we're eating okay, but then we sit down and we look at it and we're like, yeah, if I'm going to be honest, even when I'm at Google for lunch eating there with their 17 cafeterias, like I'm still reaching for the crap and I feel it in my body. And the older you get, and we'll talk about glycation at a different time, but as that starts happening from all of the insulin spikes and processed foods and sugars that you're eating, it really tears down your health and it ages you pretty quickly. So that's why someone who's 60, who eats well, works out, and sleeps well is a completely different person than the 60-year-old that's on the ultra processed foods, doesn't take care of their health, doesn't worry about sleeping, could live on like, what's a crappy Domino's pizza every day and be like, yeah, pizza. Two different people, 100%. And it's all because of what they're eating. And it's really also because of their inflammation in the body and this ratio getting off track as well, too. So it's great to look into that. I will say this. If you eat nuts, like I like macadamia nuts, even though I'm carnivore, once in a while I'll have like a serving of them, which is 12. If I got crazy because they were delicious and I started having this moment of overeating, I'm going to screw up my ratio and I'm going to feel the inflammation the next day. And I don't eat anything else inflammatory other than a normal serving, which is no more than 2 ounces of nuts or 2 tablespoons of a nut butter, because there's so much more when it's processed into nut butter, right? So if we think about this, let's tie it together. Last week we had the sickness, wellness, and fitness continuum. If we link the food with that continuum, ultra processed foods would be sickness, right? I love that. What would be the fit foods? What would put us on fitness?
This would be processed, not all processed.
Yes, if actually wellness, you'd probably get away with some processed stuff, but the food that would be, so over here we're going to have ultra processed, and this is sickness. Wellness would be, you said processed, just mildly processed, kind of like mildly processed. So maybe I made a homemade granola with nuts that I roasted, right? Stuff like that that's still going to drive up the inflammation because it's going to throw off the ratio. Bacon. But to be fit, I'm eating whole. Yeah. Costco chicken, rotisserie one. I didn't realize this. I did an experiment. Try this if you have pets. So we have cats, and they're both chunky indoor cats, and the boy will eat everything. If I'm eating my eggs in the morning, he'll lick the yolk off the plate. He's like, whatever you got for me, I'll have it. And I had gotten a tip from Quack. He's like, go get a rotisserie chicken at Costco and shred it in the bag, and then it's all ready to go. And just pour it out of that. And I was like, that's great. So I get it. And I'm like, damn, this is pretty good. Like it was, the flavor and the juiciness was not like any rotisserie chicken I've had. And then I learn about what they inject and saline, all the stuff that goes in it. And I'm like, oh no. So I went to give Miko the Costco chicken and he won't eat it. Were you there when I did that? You're probably, I don't know. He won't eat the rotisserie chicken from Costco, but he's all over the organic one from Safeway. The skin, the fat, all the stuff, the cartilage, he's all over it. But he wouldn't eat it. And that was when I was like, oh, those reels I'm seeing on Instagram from some nutrition people are legitimate. And I had not heard that yet about the Costco rotisserie chicken. And my cat was like, that's not chicken. He eats everything. He likes people food a lot. So that's the example I like to cite. Kind of like kids know good people. If your dog's nice to someone, you're like, that's a good person. Trying to attack them, you're like, probably not the best. What else can we put in the sickness? How about anything with, I want to add this down because we usually forget about this. We buy something and it's organic and it looks really good. Like the sous vide sirloin you can get at Costco, there's no crappy oil on it. But there are pre-made things like gluten-free, organic, free-range chicken and a low glycemic breading that isn't wheat or gluten, right? And then you turn it over and it's like canola oil and or sunflower oil or both, right? Or a mixture. The other thing I want to point out is while we're cooking, we go buy olive oil. Most olive oils are cut with canola oil and they don't have to list it. So like when you go to Costco and you get the stuff that's brought in from Italy and you can scan and see the source of what made it, check, because a lot of what you think are clean could be contaminated with shit oil as a money saving thing. And then you think you're over here with like, man, I got some Trader Giotto from Italy, Trader Joe's oil. And then you're like, I actually put the canola oil, like you got to check that. So I point that out because that's the way things get in your system that really sink the battleship when you think you're doing a great job. So the practical diet protocol, again, another handout for week 2 is this pyramid. If it were upside down and the words are the other way, it's the new pyramid that's just came out, which has always been the right pyramid. So eating meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some starch, little fruit, no sugar, and no seed oils is the prescription. It's always going to be the prescription. And remembering the vegetables like we talked about today in our carb list, like the leafy greens and different things like that, and your squash and broccoli, those are the ones that you want to have, right? Even if you're like, hey, I'm only doing like sweet potato with butter and cinnamon at dinner. And I'm like, dude, that's sweet potato that you just ate by yourself. I'm stoked that you put butter on it, but that's a huge amount of carbohydrate and like an hour or two before bed, right? Stick with the vegetables, the leafy greens as much as you can. If you prioritize whole foods from animal products and plants, you'll have satiety. You'll be full. Like the misnomer still is that we need carbohydrates to grow our brain when our kids and give us energy when we're adults, and kids need to play sports and we got to give them Gatorade for hydration and carbohydrate. And you're just like, we don't. We really can run on animal products and plants. And there's plenty of examples in the gym. Talk to coaches, talk to Coach Ty, Coach Tim, talk to me, talk to our clients. And you'll see that once you flip the script back to where it belongs, you're going to feel full. You're actually going to go hours longer than you used to go between meals. Because when you're eating those starchy, higher glycemic carbs or rice, or even if it's just a quarter cup of rice, it's a quarter cup of rice. Like you're not going to feel full and you're going to be hungry again in a few hours because the whole thing of the Krebs cycle from the whole at the mitochondrial level is just like not doing its job, right? You're not feeling full, the cell's not closing, you're going to eat more than you need, and then it's going to burn off fast, and your body's like just like scrambling to get that glucose out of the system. If you can't use it fast enough, it's going to store more fat anyways. And then a few hours later, you're like, fuck, I'm hungry again. I think I'm going to have an apple with peanut butter, and you just put more sugar back in and, extra fat than you need. And it's a vicious cycle. So maybe this week when you're looking in your food journal, start paying attention to the carbohydrates, because next week we're going to talk about quantity, how much of what we need. So we're focusing on quality this week. The food log is about that. And then next week when we get together, we'll say, okay, well, I get that. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I go to work and then I don't get to eat at home like I do where it's healthier. And I'm just eating at the salad bar or the burger bar or the pasta bar. And then I'm like eating my arm, gnawing my arm, driving home because I'm starving. And then I get home and I like shove in some chips while I'm waiting for dinner. And it's that vicious cycle of being hungry because you never fed your body what it needed to be full of what it needs to process foods that actually give you energy and health. And that's why a lot of people come home from a long day of work and like literally snack or a bag of chips or trail mix, which we think is healthy, usually not. And then we eat more dinner and more carbs. So we're going to think about that this week. What else can I tell you about? We will also try, we're going to do our best to make it a no added sugar week. Okay. How do we say no to sugar this week? And what does that mean? So sugar is like literal bags of sugar, brown sugar, it's maple syrup. Remember I printed out that sheet and it had like AKAs for sugar and it was 7 pages long. Maple syrup, honey, manuka honey, good for healing the gut. It's still sugar, right? And then refined carbs and flour turn into sugar. That's drives glucose in the body. So even if I'm like, hey, I'm just having some breaded chicken nuggets that I made in good oil, shook it in the bag with flour and did all this stuff in seasoning. And I'm like, hey, it's better because it's good oil and I made it. But all that coating on my chicken is sugar in the body. And then I'm going to be hungry again, or I'm not going to feel full. And I'm going to have like 4 chicken fingers instead of the 2. That was plenty for anybody, right? So we have to think about that as we go into the week as well. And remember, like, bleached flour means you've even processed the wheat more than it's extra processed. It's sickness, right? If we think about terms in food in terms of the continuum, anything like that is just off the table this week. That's what we're going to really shoot for. Um, the other thing to think about, and this is pretty cool, we've got our list of real foods and whole foods and unprocessed things. If we stick to that list, we've negated any opportunity to get hidden ingredients because we just ate whole real foods. And that's the kicker too. I love that because if we could literally just stick to, even if you don't like to cook, you can get the rotisserie chicken, you can get the sous vide sirloin at Costco that doesn't have a bunch of stuff on it. You could buy grass-fed burgers and just grill them. You could buy already hard-boiled eggs that are peeled and ready to go. Like, even if you don't like to cook, there's so many ways to eat real food. I think you don't have to worry about the added sugars getting in and the ultra processed stuff. Lastly, on the seed oils, I know for so many of us, we're like, no. My neighbor had a heart attack and they told her just canola oil, no olive oil, no animal fats, no saturated fat. It's complete opposite. It's like, it reminds me of kids who are like, it's opposite day. They'll say exactly opposite of what they mean. And it's like that with fats. So seed oils are super processed. If nothing else, look at what it takes to make a shit ton of oil from like a little seed, or rapeseed oil into canola oil, or sunflower seeds into sunflower oil. Like, the processing is wild. And some of them are more fit to be put in your vehicle than your body. Like, it's just industrial grade oil. It's garbage. Restaurants use them because it's cheap. Anyone go to Costco and see the 10-gallon thing of canola oil for, like, I don't know what it costs because I haven't bought it, but it's literally like heavy, and people who don't work out probably have a hard time getting it in the cart. It's just inexpensive. And then you go get real delightful olive oil in like a bottle and it's like $30 because it's legitimate 100% pure olive oil that was made in Europe, probably Italy more often than not, or Greece, and then it's brought in and you're like, oh, you can taste the difference, right? So think about that too. The seed oils that you've been told are healthy, now that you understand the processing stuff makes it unhealthy and puts it on the sickness side of the continuum, you know straight out the bat that polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, especially from the oils, are crap. So we've tied it together with facts on facts. So forget what you heard there. Shelf life, I know. But once you get into the habit of cooking and know that you can buy different sizes of olive oils and small containers of ghee, you don't need the big tub of coconut oil from Costco if you're not going to go through it. And I think it's good for 2 years. It's okay. Why else do we want to avoid seed oils? It prevents satiety. You'll never feel full when you're pumping that in your body. And it's going to add inflammation to the body as well. So that kitchen audit we did last week, we went through our cabinets. We're like, we don't need that. We don't need that. How'd that get in there? Whose is this? It doesn't matter. Throw it out. It's the same thing with seed oils this week. So really take a double hard look at your pantry. If you find that you turn around your olive oil and you're like, oh no, there is a seed oil in it. You didn't know because olive oil wasn't on the list last week, but we've learned some more things this week about that. So the best choice for fats, right? Get rid of the seed oils and bring in the animal fats, tallow and butter. And tallow is like sexy now. It's everywhere. There's like Shake Shack or someplace, only tallow on my fries. Kinder's Barbecue, they still put crap oil on their like mixed salads, but they put their French fries in tallow, which, I mean, I don't want you to go eat a French fry, but if you're going to, at least have it cooked in a good oil, right? Give me that. And then what else? What else can we cook with besides tallow? Get rid of all this. So we can do tallow, butter, ghee. But Lori, I wanna fry my unbreaded chicken strips. Okay, you can use avocado oil. What else? Coconut oil. Good point. Olive oil, 350 and under on that because it gets rancid if it gets too hot. This is like the list. This is really all you need. Duck fat's really good. It's actually quite delightful. And I'll tell you this, you're like, Lori, how do I know? How do I really know it's a good quality tallow? Now at the farmer's market here at City Center, Prather Ranch is selling tallow and beef broth. Super cool. Bone broth, I should say. Get it from a trusted source. The 2-pack of it at Costco is very clean. So it's a really cost-effective way to have that as well. Because I get it. Like, you're like, Lori, all of us grew up being taught to never waste food or throw it out. And I'll go back to what Tim says. That's not food. Throw it out. Budgets are hard. Okay. If you've got to get through the last of that crappy oil, do it. And then know that you're switching to this. The sooner the better. Week 2 is about that. Let's do that.
Bunch of great tallow on top of your liquid in your crock pot.
That's true. So if you're like, hey, I'm going to do what Lori said, and I'm going to take big hunks of meat and throw them in the crock pot, when it's all done and the meat's out and you let it cool, that layer of fat on top, you can save and try to get all the meat out and just save it. Like well, for us, our great grandparents did on the side of the stove that they would cook with. And then everyone bastardized it. And that was like the healthiest thing ever. So you can save fat when you cook meat and cook with it, put it in the fridge. Totally easy. So why do you think cooking at home is the best implementation of everything we learned today? Why would that just be the best case scenario? Because you know what went in. Where are my control freaks at? Control freaks rejoice. When you cook at home, you 100% are in charge of everything you're putting in your body. You know exactly what's in it, that people's hands were washed when they made it, where you got it from, and all the seasoning is something you like, and someone didn't sneak in soy sauce with wheat or a crappy oil. You're completely in control of that. So nothing gets better than that. Controlling the content, you can actually plan ahead too. So some of my friends have little calendars, like Jenny. It says what they're eating every night. I'm going to admit, I am not that good. I defrost a few things, and then I know I'm putting it in that morning, or I cook 3 days worth of food at once. That's just as good too. Find out what works best for you and get used to loving leftovers. You don't need a fresh meal every time. Unless you got hell of time, then do that. That'd be amazing. Invite me over. It's awesome. Shopping, again, the perimeter of the store is where you should stay, like the meat and the seafood aisle and the fruits and vegetables, and everything down the middle is what? It's packaged candy, soda, craziness. Other than that one aisle where you can get your good oils and stuff. And then again, prepping batch cooking is good. So we call it food prep. Some people just call it like, I don't have much time, so I threw it in a crock pot, hit 4 hours, came home and had dinner. Call it whatever you want, but it's a great way to make sure you always have food on hand. Because what happens when we don't have healthy food on hand?
Start snacking on nonsense.
We do. We snack on nonsense. We're like, oh, one night at Salitos isn't going to hurt me with their canola oil chips and carnitas. That's going to be okay. And then you're going to feel like crap because once you clean out your system and your liver's happy, like we talked about, and your inflammation's down, and you're 30, 40, 50, 60, and you feel like you're 15 again with all the energy, that's what comes from eating whole foods and eating like this. So it's always worth it in the end. You can also, I'm going to remind you to go to the Daily Fix on CrossFitSR.com and MetFixMethod.com or BrokenScience.org. You can click on Daily Fix. Look at all those recipes. And if you're like, I don't want to keep scrolling back to find something I like, but you want shrimp, down below it says archive, and you can type in the word shrimp, and then the recipes come up. That's how I always bring up the beef chili recipe that I make over and over again that everybody loves, and it's delicious. So write down for next week your favorite Daily Fix recipe, if you have one, or one that you can't wait to make, so we can talk about it. And we'll share that next week as well. And then I'm going to give you guys, you've got your food log for next week. I'm also going to send you some extra reading that you can do if you have time. I hope you do. And then we have a video of Chris from CrossFit Jacks. He's amazing. He taught me a lot at the MetFix seminar at Rogue. He's brilliant. And it's going to talk about, again, the satiety and what happens when we get the crappy oils that had us on the sickness part of the continuum. So if you don't have time to read or you're just tired and don't want to, listen to his video. It's a YouTube link. And then we'll get together next week, same time, same place, and we'll talk about quantity of food. Any questions? So far, so good. All right, great job, guys. See you next week.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.